Well, good day, everybody. This is Chris with A Mind Divided, and I just wanted to take you through a quick bike check of my new-ish bike. And as I've stated in an earlier video, I ended up being offered a very good deal on my old Kona. It was a 2015 Process 111, and I got a good price on that. And then I was able to find an incredibly good deal on a new-ish a 2018 Kona Process 153, the aluminum model. So this is the base model. So I just wanted to do a quick bike check. I haven't actually ridden it any substantial amount, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about how it feels, performs, etc. So today will primarily be a bike check. I just got it built up, and I put in a few extra goodies as well, so I'll talk about those. All right, so what do we got here? We've got this is a Kona Process 153. Is an alloy frame, is size large, and some basic geometry. It's got the nice Kona short chain stays, about 425 millimeters. It's got a 66-degree head tube angle, I believe a 76-degree C-tube angle, so fairly contemporary geometry. The reach is reasonably long as well. The one thing that the process line in general has not adopted is the emerging trend of reduced offset fork. So this is a standard offset fork, and it's not the 44 millimeter offset that we're seeing on some of the 29ers, like the transition bikes, Yeti, etc. So it is what it is. So fairly contemporary geometry. The bike weighs about 35 pounds. And let's just go ahead and go through the basic components starting at the front. This is running the SRAM Level T brakes. And what's really nice is I've got a 200 mil rotor up front and a 180 millimeter rotor in the back. It's running a Trans Z dropper seat post, and it is internally routed here. I believe this is a 150 mil drop. It is adjustable, cable actuated. This is a stock Kona bar. I believe this is about 780 millimeters wide, 760 to 780. Fairly short stem. I believe it's about 40 mil stem is what I have on here. Moving on down, this is a RockShox Yari fork with the older compression damper in it. So I'm pretty familiar with that because I'm running essentially the same thing on my my Transition Sentinel. 160 millimeters of travel. I did go ahead and throw a front fender on. I find that a fender is indispensable. As far as tires go, it's running the overall excellent Maxxis, the DHF2. This is a 29 by 2.5 tire in the front, and the DHR 29 by 2.35 on the rear. And what else have we got? Of course, it's boost hubs. I believe these are just these are stock Novatech hubs, 110 and 148 in the rear. That's pretty standard for a contemporary mountain bike. Moving on down, the rear suspension, it looks like it's changed substantially from the old Process line, but it really is fundamentally just a single pivot, a linkage-driven single pivot suspension design. And you can see that I have a continuous stay goes all the way through. There's no pivot point here, and that's what makes this a single pivot design. And then it's run through a linkage here. The older style of processes, the shock was mounted up here, and what that did is that took up a lot of space inside of the triangle. And one of the things that people really wanted was to have more space for a water bottle that they could mount in the frame. And so they went ahead and took the shock and mounted it down here. But it's still essentially a single pivot design, really beefy linkage here, really beefy quintessential Kona pivot points here as well, sealed bearings, so really robust. RockShox Deluxe. This is 60 millimeters of stroke. Translates to 153 millimeters of travel. It's fully open, locked, and of course it's got rebound. So it's got rebound and very limited compression damping, pretty similar to what I'm running on the, actually it's pretty much the same setup that I'm running on the Transition Sentinel. I have noticed, however, that the rear suspension feels different. This is fundamentally a very different feeling suspension than what I'm used to on the Sentinel. And that is to say that this is highly progressive. So it is just really, really progressive. It really ramps up as you go through the travel. Really difficult to try to bottom it out. And so what I've tentatively noticed is that it makes for a really good pedaling platform, but I'm not sure how that's going to translate to the trail, how soft and responsive it's going to be, particularly to small bump compliance and lots of consecutive hits. Now that may simply be due to the damping of the shock itself, but I suspect that the linkage and the ratios also have something to do with that. And if it's any way similar to my old Process 111, which was very progressive as well, then I suspect it'll have a pretty similar feel, even with the additional travel. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, moving right along, this is just our race face AFAC crank 30 tooth, and it is running not a 1x12 but a 1x11 system. So it's just a standard 42 tooth, 30 tooth crank, and I'm running a SRAM GX shifter. This is a SRAM NX 1x11, and I believe that this is a SRAM NX 1x11 cassette with a Novatech hub in the rear. The rim duties are the very nice WTB I-29s, 29 millimeter internal width. Plenty wide enough for this bike. As you can see here, clearance become an issue. So you're going to be somewhat limited on the width of the back tire, but I could probably very comfortably put a 2.6 up front. That's what I run on my Transition, is a 2.6, but I love these Maxxis tires, so the 2.5 is just fine for me. Okay, so that's basically what I'm running. Some of the goodies I just put some Race Face Chester wannabe pedals. These are essentially a Race Face Chester, only a lot cheaper, and the color matches the motif of the bike. So there you go. I've got some crank boots coming, so I have some Race Face crank boots that'll go on there very shortly. And then I also, just as of today, installed the new Cush Cores inserts. And so I'm going to play around with running very low pressures in my tires. I'm going to start at about 20 psi front and rear, 18 to 20, and we'll see how it goes. And I will talk about my impression of the Cush Core after I actually get some miles on them. Installation wasn't too terrible, actually. It went a lot better than I thought it might. So that's the bike. I plan to put some miles on. The weather currently down here is just horrible, so I haven't really had a chance to get any substantial riding in on this Kona, but I wanted to do a bike check nonetheless, and hopefully I'll be out on the trail soon. I'll try to get some footage, and I'll try to give my initial impressions of this bike. I'm really excited to have this as kind of a trail bike alternative to the Transition. I suspect that this is going to be kind of my go-to trail bike that I can do all-day rides on, have a really good pedaling platform, and then the Transition is going to be more for my all-mountain type of riding and for bike park riding. Even though it has less travel than this, the rear suspension right out of the box, and I'm running 30% sag on this, but right out of the box I can tell you that this is much more progressive, much stiffer, and it just feels like it's a much better pedaling platform, but I'm not entirely sure about its capability when it comes to really rough, sustained descents. We'll see, but I'm suspecting that this is going to essentially be my new trail bike. That was what the Kona essentially was a trail bike. and then the transition is going to be more of an all-mountain bike park kind of platform for me. We'll see how that goes. However, I'm open to having my mind changed, and either way, I think this is going to be a pretty good bike, and I got it at a great price, so I'm really excited to put some miles on this. I've really enjoyed my Kona process for the last few years, and so I'm really looking forward to enjoying a process with more contemporary geometry and newer components. All right, guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day doing whatever it is you may be doing, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.